Welcome to part 3 of my new video series on storytelling in a pitch, where we dig deeper into the telling of the business story. These videos about fundraising for startups and putting together an investor deck should be particularly helpful for entrepreneurs who are looking to grow their business and raise the necessary capital, entrepreneurs who've been trying to raise capital who may have hit some roadblocks and are looking to improve their prospects, and also people who may have an idea for a business and are trying to get an idea of what may lie ahead when they take the plunge. These are short videos about a range of topics on startups and fundraising that cover a range of topics from broad overviews to deeper, more advanced issues for those of you who are further along in your fundraising. They're completely modular, so take what you need and leave the rest. My name is Lisa Sue. I'm a startup funding strategist here in Los Angeles. I'm a longtime board member at Women Founders Network and have run the coaching program there for the last 5 years. I'm a mentor at a number of accelerators like Techstars, the Precelerators, and others. And if I look familiar, you may have seen me featured in Huffington Post, Business Rockstars, Startup Nation, or Women 2.0. I write quite a bit on tech, startups, fundraising, and women in business. As I mentioned, this is the third and last video in a short 3-part series on storytelling and investor decks. Part 1 was all about storytelling as one of the most important aspects of a successful investor pitch and how to incorporate it to make the best impact on investors. Part 2, the last video, was all about the importance of telling your personal story as a founder in your pitch. And this final video is all about how this folds into telling a compelling business story, which is attractive to investors. Now that that intro is out of the way, let's get into it. What is this about the business story? What kind of story are you supposed to tell about the business? And is it enough to tell the founder story? And the answer is no. The founder story goes a long way, but once you've shown that you're the right person to steer the ship, you still need to tell the story of how you're going to steer the ship to success. You have to show that you have a credible plan to make it happen. And that linking of the business aspects of your pitch into a coherent narrative, that is the story. So let me give you a simple example of linking some of the most common elements of a classic pitch. The founder will tell their story, which will lead into how they found product market fit. Then they'll show how this fits into a larger market. So it's not just the founder and their friends, but there's actually a large market to tap that all want this product market fit. And then they'll show how they plan to bring that market on as customers. So they'll show a real plan of what's called user or customer acquisition. Because often you'll see, for example, founders who are like, oh, can't I put the app into the App Store? And no, that's not enough of a user acquisition plan. You have no idea as to whether people actually find out about the app, whether they'll want it, whether they'll pay for it, or whether you'll actually get them onto some kind of freemium model. You need to show a credible plan as to how you're going to actually make the market into customers that you can actually monetize. Anyway, and then the point is, then it all leads into what this ends up looking like in financial terms with your projections. So that's the theoretical framework of how this often works. But let me give you a tangible example. And so now we're going to go revisit the Airbnb story I mentioned in the earlier videos. And let's go back to what their pitch looked like, which was in their pitch, Franceschi, the founder, would start by telling the story of how they started making extra money by renting out air mattresses on the floor of their San Francisco apartment when they're having trouble making rent. In Airbnb, that story would then lead to their realization that there's a hole in the market for travelers who are looking for a different experience than in chain hotels, and the creation of the Airbnb platform. So the product market fit. That would then link up to the calculation of how big that market actually is based on a number of factors, including the number of users on couch surfing sites and home swaps. And then they'd explain how they would then get that market onto the Airbnb platform through partnering with events like Oktoberfest and Mardi Gras, travel sites, and also essentially hacking Craigslist. And then they'd show what this would look like in financial terms with their projections. And I'm going to take a very short detour into financials for a moment because they are a big part of the business story that you're telling. Your financial projections are not just a bunch of numbers. They need to be consistent and support your business story. And they're very important to investors. And I'll probably be doing a whole series about them all together because they show that you've thought through the financial implications, how your business is really going to work and what that means for money coming in and money going out. I'll often have founders ask me like that they've heard something about how investors don't think financial projections are ever right, but somehow they're still important and they don't understand how this can possibly be consistent. And that's true. Investors usually take financial projections with a giant grain of salt, but they're still very important to investors because, as I said, they mean that the founders have thought through how the business is actually going to grow. And they want to know that you've gone through that exercise and have really thought through the implications. That being said, all of these things need to tie together. The story needs to work, the projections need to work, the founder story is important so they know who you are and you've created a connection. All of these things have to dovetail. Now, of course, this is a very great simplification of Airbnb's pitch, but I hope that it gives you an idea of what a business story can look like and how it can fold into the founder story. And if you have time, I encourage you to take a look at Airbnb's early pitch deck, which is available online, so you can see how this actually played out in their slides. This wraps up this 3-part series on storytelling and investor pitches. This is one of my favorite topics to work with founders on, so I've really enjoyed putting this group of videos together, and I hope this has been a helpful overview. The next 3-part series of short videos will be on angel investors, what they are, how they approach investing, and how you can start approaching them to invest in your startup. But if you have questions in the meantime, I'd love to chat, so please feel free to send me an email or drop by my virtual office hours, which you can find on my website, winningpitch.net. Until then, friends, I look forward to speaking.